perfectly competitive product market. So the basic assumption is that a perfectly competitive market, okay, what are people going to do? People are going to maximize profit, okay? In this industry, markets, whatever, people are going to maximize profit. But, on the stock market, you may have a different idea about the objective of a company, okay? So, Zhang Shewei, what is ESG? What is ESG? No idea. Ling? Excuse me?
Environment, social, 然后 G 我忘记。
G governance. Okay. Basically, that's about the management of a company. And then, okay, E, environment. That's a important issue, right? But if you don't have money, then you don't have money, you don't have profits, how can you devote resources to environment, right? And social means, you got to be care about the society, right? But it's now people emphasize so much about environment, but what really matters is that if you don't have money, if you don't have profit, there's nothing or not much you can do. So for example, I told you about BMW, right? Okay. 林玉祥, is anything special about the cars produced by BMW? Expensive? What else? Is okay. What else? Let's talk about the function. It has a lot of power, right? If you have a lot of power, you got to consume a lot of energy, right? So, if that is the case, does it really follow the guideline of ESG? The answer, in my opinion, is no, right? If you drive a Toyota or Honda, usually, even though it's not as powerful, right? But it consumes less energy, so there is less carbon footprint, right? So what is carbon footprint? Zhang Shewei, what's carbon footprint? Zhang Shewei, what's carbon footprint? What's carbon?
碳纤维。
No, that's carbon fiber. Louder. Right. Because the cars produced by BMW is much more powerful, right? And accelerate very quickly, right? And also very comfortable. What does that mean? It consumes a lot of energy, right? And so when European Union, they want to set a rule on carbon footprint, BMW, they are against it, okay? And this, I think it's the same thing about Porsche, right? Porsche, the same thing, because the kind of car that Porsche produces is the same thing here, right? Consume a lot of energy, and so has a lot of carbon footprint. So that's not right. But when EU want to set a rule like that, what did BMW, Porsche say? They say we don't want to do that, right? They lobby against such kind of rules. So, the stock market can discuss a lot of things about ESG or the responsibility, social or CSR. Okay, CSR. What is CSR? Corporate social responsibility. But anyway, if they don't make money, they forget about everything. So, for this book, it's easier, right? It just emphasizes the logic of profit maximization and have not discussed anything else. I think that's right, because if a firm does not make profit, there's nothing more you can do about environment or social responsibility. And there is something special about this book, because this book discusses how to measure producer surplus. Okay, so this is important, and also we have something on the homework. So you got to be very careful about this issue, measure producer surplus. Okay. And so also we talk about short run equilibrium and long run equilibrium. So basically, for the first hour, we have finished discussion on that, and also how to get to the long run equilibrium and short run supply curve, right? And long run supply curve. So for the conclusion, in the first hour, the short run supply curve, okay, of a competitive firm is the section of marginal cost curve intersects AVC. So that's the minimum of AVC, okay, the section of marginal cost curve that is above the minimum of AVC. And the long run is the intersection of MC and AC, so that's the minimum of AC, so the MC section above AC curve, okay? So we finished discussion here. We have many buyers, many sellers, homogeneity, okay? Everything is the same, free entry and free exit. So it is perfect and freely available information. So this point is hard to satisfy, okay? We discussed, recently I bought a notebook computer, and it takes me probably more than 10 hours to figure out what to buy, because you have processors to worry about, you have memory, all these things. So information is not free, okay? So in any case, so sometimes we criticize company to put too much commercial. So commercial gonna put price higher, but in any case, you still need information about the product, okay? And we mentioned this, okay, logic of profit maximization, okay? So marginal profit, right? So pi, okay, pi is equal to TR minus TC, and d pi dq, right? So what you get? You get MR minus MC. So this is for first order condition, okay? MR equals MC, this is the first order condition, and you need to have second order condition. That is, the slope of marginal revenue curve is less than the slope of the marginal cost curve. And here, you talk about excessive spending on advertising. And so this is one of the points. Let us briefly discuss it. We don't want to get into too much detail. It is kind of interesting. In Taiwan, okay, Pepsi and Coca-Cola, which one do you see more often? Pepsi and Coca-Cola, which one do you see more often? Pepsi, Coca-Cola, which one do you see more often? Coca-Cola, right? But actually, in the United States, okay, Pepsi is probably more popular. That's my impression. And that's the same thing about fast food restaurants. So we have Burger King, right, and McDonald's. In the US, Burger King is perhaps larger than McDonald's. But in Taiwan, which one is bigger? McDonald's, and much bigger, right? In Taiwan, probably you have several hundred or maybe 1,000 of McDonald's restaurants. But in Taiwan, you only have maybe 5 Burger King. But in the US, you have much more, okay? Why? I have no idea. So, and as a matter of fact, I like Burger King's better than McDonald's. Because, the hamburgers is much more tasty than McDonald's. That's my opinion. Okay, so here in the market, you have supply and demand, right? In the market, you have supply and demand, but for an individual producer, okay, is a price taken. Okay, so in the market you have regular supply, okay, and regular demand, but for the producer, because it is a price taker, so the elasticity, the price elasticity of supply is infinite. So the supply curve for an individual firm, it is horizontal. Okay, let me emphasize this again. For the market, okay, for the whole industry, the supply curve looks normal, the demand curve looks normal. But for an individual producer, because it is a price taker, the demand curve looks like this, horizontal. So the price elasticity is infinite because you have to accept this price. Other than that, you can do nothing. Okay, so the demand curve, okay, for the industry is normal. Okay, the slope is negative, but for an individual producer, the demand is horizontal. Okay, because it is a price taker. So the price elasticity of demand, okay, is infinite. Okay, short-run supply curve is here. Okay. Well, let's move down there. Okay, so here, remember this is the example I gave you, right? You have point A and you have point B, right? At point A is this. Okay, at point A, let me draw this. Okay, so is this point the profit maximization point? The answer is no, right? Because here the whole thing is this area, right? This area is the total cost. And let me use a different color. Okay, the revenue is only this part, the rectangle. Okay, the revenue is here. So what does that mean? At this point A, okay, at this point A, actually you have loss. Okay, so this is not the profit maximization point. The profit maximization point is B. Okay. And now the question is, as we say, because in a competitive market, people are free to enter and exit. So in the long run, the profit is equal to zero. Okay, so the profit is equal to zero. And you must say this is strange, right? If I don't make any profit, why should I join the market? We are talking about zero economic profit. Okay, so what does that mean? You earn what you earn. So suppose you can get a job, okay, in a company, or you run a shop yourself. And when we mention that you get zero profit when you run a shop, it means that you already got your labor, okay, payment. Okay, you already got the payment for your labor. So it means you earn what you are supposed to earn. Okay, you earn what you are supposed to earn, but not more, not less. Okay, the shutdown rule we already mentioned, right? The shutdown rule is when a price is below the minimum of ABC, you should shut it down, because at that point your loss will be more than the fixed cost. Okay, so this is exactly the example that I gave you. Okay, so shutdown point is here, at point here, ABC, right? The minimum of ABC. Okay. And if it is in between, okay, if it is in between, still you have a loss, but the loss is not larger than or equal to the fixed cost. So still you will produce. Okay, so between A, C, and here, okay, you're still gonna produce. But when the price drops to this point, you will shut it down because the cost will be more than the fixed cost. So if you are still able to cover the your variable cost, then you will continue to produce. So at this point, right? At this point, you will not produce because the loss will be much higher than the fixed cost. And here we talk about, the book discuss about airline industry. please read it on your own. We will not discuss this in details. Okay? So short run supply. Okay? Here is the minimum, right? Minimum of A, B, C. So this section, the MC section above the minimum of A, B, C, this is the short run supply curve. And for long run supply curve is the MC section above the minimum of ATC. So we get two supply curves. One is for short run, one is for long run. Okay, for the short run, it has to be above the minimum of ABC. For the long run, it has to be above the minimum of ATC. Okay? So basically, this is the story that I have told you. Okay, so ATC, ABC, so here it is the short run supply curve. Okay? And producer surplus. Okay? So what is producer surplus? Producer surplus is the difference between the price you accept and the price you actually get. Okay, the price you accept and the price you actually get. So in terms of the producer surplus is total revenue minus the variable cost. Okay, the total revenue minus variable cost. This textbook is a little bit special because it discusses this issue and tells you how to calculate it. And we have some assignment in the homework, and so in the midterm, we will have questions like this. So producer surplus, it is total revenue minus variable cost. Okay, so you look at it. Here is marginal cost. By the way, I probably forgot to emphasize this. Because we say total cost is total fixed cost plus total variable cost, right? And if we want to get marginal cost, it's DTC DQ, right? And so what's marginal cost? And that is equal to D TFC plus TVC and DQ, right? And everybody knows, because TFC is fixed, right? And so when you differentiate that, you get nothing here. So it's gone. So you have T, D, TVC, and DQ, okay? So what does that mean? If you want to know marginal cost, okay, if you want to know marginal cost, the only thing you need is TVC, okay? The only thing you need is TVC. You don't need TFC to get marginal cost. So here is a diagram, okay, to show you how to calculate total variable cost. So this section down here, right? Okay, that is total variable cost. And so if the price is here, okay, suppose the price here, the total revenue minus TVC, so this part, okay, this part is producer surplus. And that's what we have done last semester. Okay, last semester we already talked about producer surplus and consumer surplus. And now we discuss it again because we have a formula for it. So producer surplus is equal to total revenue minus total variable cost. Okay, so you see it. And this is an application, and again, we will not discuss it. You're gonna read the, you're gonna read the textbook yourself and to figure out what's going on. Okay? And here, it's talk about market supply curve. Remember that, okay, in the final exam, right? In the final exam, we have questions like this. But you know, this textbook offers a little bit more complicated examples because remember that for the final we say we have the same producer, okay? We have the same producer, we have 10, we have 5, but here you have different, producer with different kind of supply curve. So it is a little bit more difficult. So you have intersection here, here, a little bit more difficult. But I don't think we're going to have a question like this, okay, in your midterm because we have done that last semester. Okay, here is the same thing. So you have firms 1, firms 2, firms 3, and you add them together. Okay, remember it is horizontal sum. Okay, horizontal sum of the supply. And so at whatever given price, and look at how many quantities are supplied and add them together. And that's the way you get market supply. Okay? So short run, you have a profit, right? In this case, in the short run, you have profit. And so you're going to encourage people to come into the market. And then you have more firms producing, and then you have more supply. And so supply curve shift to the right, price goes down, and to squeeze out the profit. Okay? Okay, entry and exit, right? So if you have profit, you enter the market, and if you have loss, you get out of the market. Okay? And in the long run, this is what we're going to have. So in the long run, what is the long run equilibrium? So price is equal to long run marginal cost, and is equal to long run average cost. Okay? So this is the long run equilibrium for a competitive firm. So in this case, because LMC is equal to LAC, what does that mean? That means it is the most efficient production. Okay? Why? Because LMC is equal to LAC means the production is at the lowest point of LAC. So this is the most efficient production. Okay? The production is efficient. Okay? And okay, the price is equal to LAC. Okay, the price is equal to LAC. What does that mean? That means the firm does not exploit consumer because they get what they get. Okay, they get what they get. So the consumer pays for the product and the producer makes zero profit. Means they only get their opportunity cost covered. No more, no less. Okay, and then these two. Price is equal to LMC. Okay, so what does that mean? That means the consumer pays what is worth to the producer. Okay, so this is what I pay, and this is what I get. So the producer, it doesn't exploit the consumer, and for the consumer, they pay for exactly what it is worth. Okay, so this is the marginal cost, and this is what I pay. So it means that I pay what is the minimum cost to me, and for the firm, this is the marginal cost for him. And so each one gets what they need, and no more and no less. Okay? Okay. So we have another issue. Remember that when we talk about return to scale, right? Okay, return to scale, we have increasing return to scale, decreasing return to scale, and constant return to scale. And we talk about the cost. We also have three things. One is constant cost industry, increasing cost industry, and decreasing cost industry. And these have different kind of implication about the operation and the supply curves of an industry. So let us look at this. So this is constant cost industry. So in the long run, the supply curve is horizontal. It means price elasticity of supply is equal to infinite. Okay, the price elasticity of supply is equal to infinite. So the supply curve is horizontal. Okay? And this one, okay, increasing cost. Okay? So in the long run, of course, if you're gonna produce more, you need to get more resources. And if you have demand for more resources, more or less, generally, you're going to see increasing cost. Okay? The last part, decreasing cost. Sorry. Okay, so you have here it is Q, here is P, okay? Here you have long run supply curve. So this is constant cost. And here it is long run supply curve. Okay, this is for what? For increasing cost. But what will be decreasing cost? Decreasing cost will be something like this. Decreasing cost. Does it make sense? It doesn't. Okay, just like when we talk about returns to scale, right? We have increasing returns to scale, constant returns to scale, and decreasing returns to scale. So we say increasing returns to scale or decreasing returns to scale don't make sense. The only one that makes sense to us is constant returns to scale. And the same thing here, but a little bit different. So here, you have long run supply curve, looks like that. This makes sense because if you look at food industry, restaurants, you can copy one restaurant, okay, put it in Taipei, put it in Taichung, put it in Kaohsiung, and basically you have so many McDonald's, and the operation is the same, right? Okay, not much different. So the long run cost looks like constant. So the long run supply curve looks like that. Or you have something looks like this. As we say, if you demand more resources, generally you're going to drive up the price of your inputs. And more or less, you're going to see increasing cost. But what about decreasing cost? It really doesn't make sense. Why? You produce more, okay, you produce more, the cost is lower, right? If you produce more and the cost is lower, what should you do? You should continue to produce, expand your market, right? Because in that way, the price will go down, your costs also go down, and you make more money. But, well, it doesn't make sense. Okay, so it's done. So let's discuss homework. So we should be able to finish chapter A, homework of chapter A next week. So you have to, so what's the day? So hand in your homework March 30. Okay, hand in your homework March 30 in written form. Okay. Okay, let's check. Page 206. Okay, page 206. Unit question 1. Please read the question. Unit, you have textbook? Okay, read it. Respectively.
With the first input mix, the marginal product of capital is NPK, and the marginal product of labor is MPL.
So using iso-quant, iso-cost diagram to show the firm's current input combination. Okay? So, okay, let me show you the way to maximize profit. Okay? So, maximize profit. So what you get? P times F LK. Okay? Subject to W times L plus R times K is equal to C. Okay? Any question? So basically, we're going to use the Lagrange. So you have Lagrange equal to P times F LK plus lambda C minus W times L minus R times K. Okay? Any question to this point? Any question to this point? And so we have partial L and partial lambda. So P times, okay, this is production function, right? This is production function. So production function differentiate with respect to L, what you get? You get NPL, okay? And minus, okay? Here C is gone, and then you have minus W equal to 0. And here, again, partial lambda, partial capital, right? So you have P times NPK minus R is equal to 0. Okay? So what you get? You get P is equal to, P times NPL is equal to W, and P times NPK is equal to R. Okay? Any questions? And so we divided these two equations. So then what you have? You have NPL divided by NPK is equal to W divided by R. And so what you get? You get NPL divided by W is equal to NPK divided by R. So this should be familiar to you, right? So when we talk about consumers, we have PX MUX equal to MUYPY, right? And this is equal to MU dollar sign. So this is each dollar of marginal utility you get, okay? So for the money you spend on X, and this is the marginal utility you get from spending on X. This is the for the marginal utility you spend on Y. And so basically for each of the money you spend on X and Y, you get the same kind of marginal utility. And that is the same thing for producer, only that now it is marginal product rather than marginal utility. So for a producer to maximize profit, you want to get the same thing out of the money you spend on labor or capital. And so this is, according to the diagram, okay, you have L, you have K, right? So this is the, in the case of consumer, we say this is budget line. But for the case of producer, we call it is ISO cost, right? And for the case of consumer, it is called indifference curve. But for producer, it's called isoquant, okay? And so at this point, it is the slope of the ISO cost, and that is negative W over R. And here, okay, the slope of the isoquant, what is that? It's called MRTS. MRTS, marginal rate of technical substitution. So that's NPL over NPK. Okay? So basically, question 1, okay, it is about the whole scenario here. So you should have the slope of the ISO cost equals to the slope of the isoquant. That is the point the firm maximizes profit. You can do it by, as I have just shown you a few minutes ago, by calculus or by geometry, okay? So with this or that, you get the same kind of answer. So each dollar you spend on labor and each dollar you spend on capital, the marginal product should be the same. Okay, so it's marginal product of each dollar. Okay? Okay. So unit is this firm maximizing profit at this point? Unit. is this firm maximizing profit at this point? So now we are looking at question A and B. So using ISO cost, ISO quant, okay, to show the firm's current input combination. Okay, so let's do it. So MPK and MPQ, right? So MPL over MPK is equal to 10 over 10, that is equal to 1, right? And then so what is this? This is the slope, okay? This is the slope of the isoquant, okay? This is the slope of the isoquant. And the slope of the isocost is W over R. How much is W, Unity? 10. And how much is R? 5. So this is equal to 2, right? So what does that mean? The slope of the isocost is steeper. Okay, the slope of the isocost is steeper. And the slope of the isoquant is flatter. Okay? So in this case, what should the firm do, Unity? Unity. So let me put this here. Here it is 1, 2, and 3. According to the question here, which point is the firm at now? Where is the firm? Where is the production point of the firm? 1, 2, or 3? According to the question, okay, where is the firm now? It is 1, 2, or 3? Look at it. This is the slope of the isoquant, right? Here is the slope of the isocost. So where is the point now? This one
3.
is larger than, yes, okay? So what should the firm do? What should the firm do?
多一点 K。
Okay, more K and less capital. Okay, the reason is quite simple, right? Because the marginal product of labor and capital is all 10. Okay, they are both 10, right? They are both 10. But which one has more contribution? Which one is cheaper? The marginal product is the same, right? But capital is cheaper, right? So you should use more capital. So in the long run, what should you do? You should increase capital, okay, and decrease labor, okay? So question A say using isoquant isocost graph to show the firm's current input combination. So that's there, right? And could this firm be in a short-run cost minimization equilibrium? Of course not, right? And in that, what should you do? In the long run, they should use more capital and less labor. So question D, suppose the price of capital increase to 10. What happens to the output expansion path? Okay, to draw a diagram is complicated, but in this case, Chen Xizai, so what should the firm do? I mean, what will happen to the output expansion path? Capital now increase a little bit more, from $5 to $10. What would the firm do? Because now the capital is more expensive, right? So you will not use as much capital. So you will turn to use labor more, right? Because now capital becomes more expensive. So for the first question, right? Because W is equal to 10, R is equal to 5. So of course you need to use more capital, right? but now the price of capital goes up. What should you do? Use less capital, more labor. Okay? Question E. Assume capital is a fixed input. When the cost of the capital R increases from 5 to 10, what happened to the short-run marginal cost curve? The marginal cost, of course, will shift up, right? Because the price goes up. Okay? Oh, sorry. Because it said capital is fixed, right? Capital is fixed. So because capital is fixed, it will not affect fixed cost. It will not affect variable cost, right? Okay, let me repeat this again. Question E is a little bit different because it said capital is fixed, right? And it said, okay, if the price of capital goes up, this only affects fixed cost, right? Only affects fixed cost, so it does not affect variable cost. So there will be no change in the short-run marginal cost curve. Why? Because fixed cost doesn't change. Remember that? I say, if you want to know marginal cost, what do you need to know? You only need to know total variable cost. Why? Because fixed cost doesn't affect marginal cost. Okay? Get it? Okay. So even though for question E it said capital, the price of capital increases, but it does not affect the marginal cost, it does not affect the variable cost. And the second part, he said what happens to the short-run average cost curve? So in this case, it won't change, okay, because only fixed costs are affected, okay? And what happened to the long-run average cost curve? In the long run, of course, because capital becomes more expensive, and so it will affect the long-run average cost curve. Okay? Questions? So we will do question 2 and 3 next week, and all the questions of chapter 7 and chapter 8. See you next week.